How exactly do you make a game completely alone while, I don't know, being a father or a student or being a husband? I talked with John, the owner of Lost Relic Studios. He's making a game called Blood and Mead, and he's honest about the process. This is a really frank conversation. Stick around to the end because I think you're going to learn a ton about how to make a game completely alone. How do you power through the burnout? How do you stick with your project? How do you not quit? Let's jump in. How are you handling this as a father working a full-time job, and you're making games full-time, but like on the side you're working on Blood and Mead? How is this going for you?
Well, I've had to put a lot of myself into. I've had to compromise a lot to the point where sometimes but let me try to think of the correct angle to come at this, because it's definitely hard, and I've had to go to a lot of dark places mentally to get through. Like I've regularly, not so much anymore, but it still happens sometimes. I will go to sleep with this sense of dread, just dread, and quite often it's because I've had a tough day of development, or just, you can get stuck on a bug sometimes, something so stupid, and it will make you question everything. Like, do I even know how this works? How this engine works? You start to question your fundamental understanding of the simple stuff. But quite often it just means you need a good night's sleep, And so I've learned a lot of hacks and tricks with myself to know when to call it, first of all. I used to just burn way past midnight into the early hours. On holidays it can still happen, but I've had to learn to listen to my body, listen to my mind, get kind of very well acquainted, because you got to learn to learn to be your own best friend and also harshest critic. There's a lot that could be said here, because it's a very fickle situation for the most part.
Do you have trouble turning your brain off from your game?
Absolutely, yeah. I have, like perhaps you do, I suffer from the affliction of constant thoughts, creative thoughts, just problem solving. My wife will often catch me and I'm just like writing code with my finger in the air, and she'll just laugh, and she'll mock me. She'll make gestures back where he's doing that thing again where I'm like solving equations or writing like pseudocode with my finger in the air. So things like this go on, and I'll be in the middle of the lounge room, playing a game or something, and I'll pull out the camera and I'll take photos of the TV, because I like to, rather than taking screenshots, because I like to play on the TV these days as opposed to a computer. It's a bit more social. So I'll be in the lounge room with the kids out, and I'll be jumping up to take photos of the TV, and the kids will be like, "Mom, Dad's taking photos of the TV again," things like this. So there's a lot of kind of peculiar behavior that goes on, that a lot of idiosyncrasies, which are part of their creative process. But I have learned, after having some serious burnouts some time ago, I was like, this can't go on. I need to get on top of this. So I have a kind of personal protocols to deal with this stuff. And I pretty much, I don't want to say, I more or less don't burn out anymore, like, if that makes sense. Because I feel like I've burnt out so many times, and I've come to understand what that red zone feels like so often. It's like I'm so acquainted with the heat of the fire that now I can kind of dance around. It's like, oh, that's that feeling again. It's like, oh, I know this. I've been here before. It's familiar. It's like it's warming now, but it doesn't ruin me like it used to. And I know, look, some people will be like, well, this sounds like this crunch culture or grind. I mean, no, because these are your own things, and you do it because you kind of love it and you want to do it. It's different if you're being told to do this by a boss, or it's a very different situation. Like, that's crunch if you have to sleep under your desk at a studio. But when you're doing it for yourself, where you have a creative expression, I wouldn't really call it crunch, because you don't have to be doing it. You can stop at any moment. No one's putting a gun to your head. crunch is only when it's kind of unavoidable and you're kind of being forced into that situation. But anyway, major digression. But yeah, I do a lot of little things to clear my mind. Put it that way.
Yeah, I assume you work out. I saw your biceps earlier, and I was like, oh, this guy works out.
I think you've got the edge on me, Thomas.
No, I'm actually trying to lose some weight. I feel like I'm starting to get a little bit dad bod a little bit, but granted, I've got 3 kids, so that's what happens. What's the I wanted to ask really quick though, what is this burnout? Like why are you putting yourself through this? Like, what's the point? Why do you need to get this game done?
That's an excellent question. I'm not sure I've ever asked myself that. I mean, there is no like reason to there's no outcome that I can't live without. But I guess it's stepping into the unknown. I think that's what it is. I have a sense for it of adventure. I like to try things that are difficult, and this has certainly proved itself to be extremely difficult. And kind of test the boundaries of what's possible. And I think just the act of creating something and people playing it, because I experienced that in the Flash era. So I know what that feels like. And it's so rejuvenating for the soul to have someone play your creation, or as an artist, maybe it's like watch your movie or, look at your painting. I'm sure it's a very similar thing. But there's something to that. It's been ineffable. I think it's something deep in the human spirit and condition, that there's something there which is at the core of humanity, and I think that's what we're kind of playing with here with this craft, and I think it's not trivial at all. I think it's kind of fundamental to who we are, to get a little bit esoteric here. So I guess that's what drives me, that's that pursuit of following the muse, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. What is how does this reflect in your family life? And we can cut anything you want, but I'll speak for me first. I'll go first, and then you don't have to answer if you don't want. But for me, it's gotten to the point now where my wife is like, look, it was cool when you were in your 20s, like I was all there for you as your cheerleader, like, this is so cool, Thomas is building a game studio. Now she's like, this is a job. It's a job. So she doesn't want to hear me complain like I did when I was in my 20s. She doesn't want me going up to her and saying, oh, I'm so scared and I'm so upset and I'm so frustrated. I put all this time into this game and I'm scared it's not going to do well. She's like, bro, you're 35. You've been doing this for over a decade. Put your big boy boots on. And treat this like a business. Get it done. She's very matter of fact. She is so what's the word? She treats me with a ton of it's like respect. It's like I know that you can put your chin up, pull your shoulders back, and power through this. I don't want to hear you whine and complain. And most people would say, man, I don't want my wife to talk to me that way. I want to be treated with grace and comfort and gentleness. But the truth is that that's not what I personally need. And she knows that, because she knows that I'll milk that. So the way that I approach this now is, this is a business. This is a job. And I'm going to do everything I can to confidently pursue it without being miserable. Because it's just not going to work if I am miserable. So that's my side. If you're willing to answer, what's this like with your family?
Sure. Yeah. So the kids obviously love it.
Yeah.
That's making a game. And they often will do little pictures and stuff. But I think the stuff with the wife or with the partner is significant. And because it's that whole, we're talking about kind of a work-life balance here, and the wrestle, which to a degree is unavoidable. I feel like there is no such. I mean, it's been said before that there is kind of no such thing as work-life balance to a degree. Like you can have this naive notion of it, and then I was like, yeah, you gotta look. There is, but there also isn't, depending on how far you want to take it, right?
Yeah.
I look at sometimes people like Elon Musk, and I'm like, I don't get it. You know,
I don't. Yeah. How is he doing it? How is he doing?
So I know that there's kind of levels. There's levels to this stuff, you know. But obviously, he's probably not having an exceptional relationship with each one of his kids. You know, you just can't do all these things without it, right? I mean, you got to compromise, right? And that's you kind of you win some and you lose some, and that's how it is. So for me, I've tried very hard to be aware of what it is that I do and how it affects my wife and my kids, because if you don't keep that in check, your life will fall apart very quickly. And had I kind of continued the trajectory that I was on previously, I probably would have lost my marriage. Yeah, absolutely. Because
was that last year?
Not last year. I think this is going back a couple of years now. Because marriage is hard to begin with, you know, like two people trying to understand each other and getting to know each other over a period of time, and you're kind of living together. It's tricky, you know. You got to, There's a lot of compromises, right? And
it's the hardest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Underneath being a parent, it's the hardest thing in the world.
And indie dev doesn't really offer too much compromise if you really want to be all in. Like if you want to be if you just want to dabble with it on the side and kind of whatever happens, but if you want to be commercially successful, you know, make a market viable game, that's no joke, because there's a lot more to it behind the scenes than quite often people realize. So I kind of just looking at it peripherally, or just there's obviously the honeymoon phase that everyone gets enamored with, but beyond that, it's just like, man. You know what I mean? Multiple input support, you know, plugging in different console controllers and having the correct prompts come up and detecting all these, you know, and shit like this. But I have a pretty understanding wife, and she's a creative as well. So I kind of, I'm fortunate in that regard. Because you got to pick your partners right. I think this is an important rule as well, because some don't make it, you know, and you have to make sure that the person you're with is kind of compatible with that lifestyle, and that's got to be kind of clear early on, because that's indie dev, especially if you're doing it solo, is all consuming. It really is. I mean, at this point, I'm doing the, you know, like. I know you're moving into solo now too. I saw you mention. So, you know, you've got programming, you've got design work, you've got potentially artwork, and then doing PR, promotion, managing a Discord community. I've got a Discord as well, you know, like 5,000 people.
Wow.
I used to be a lot more active there, like directly helping people, but I had to kind of rebalance things a little bit. Thankfully, I've got a lot of fantastic moderators there. What's up, Ash? So yeah, like, I mean, there's no kind of simple pragmatic answer. It's very much a kind of feel it out kind of thing, you know, where you give a little, you take a little, and you hope it works out.
I like what you said about picking your partner, right? Because there's so many times when I'm having a conversation with my friends or my family or something, and I'm talking about a new development with like a publisher or the game or YouTube, some new business strategy or some new game mechanic. And I'll say, and I'll be talking to a family member. I'll be saying, it worked. You know, I'm so surprised it worked. Like recently, we're about to do a sponsorship with a sponsor, and I've always wanted to do a relationship with or at this level with this sponsor. And my wife she'll look at me and do this, because what she's saying is, I told you, and that you didn't need to freak out, Thomas. I told you, you just needed to be patient. And she's always told me, stop the spiral, dude. Like, everything's fine. The reason I bring that up is because that's what I personally need in my wife. You know, My personality needs someone to say, chill, chill. Whereas some people, they need a wife that's, tell me more, and I'll listen and I'll hear you. Whereas with me, I'm a verbal processor, and so I'll just vomit. And it doesn't make things better. It makes things worse. If I just keep talking about something, I get worse and worse and worse and worse. So what she does, she knows me so well. She's known me more, almost half of my life now. We started dating in high school. She's like, how about we stop talking about this and you just take a chill pill? Like, take it easy. Breathe. And it's like, okay, I don't need to talk about this. I just need to go get in the cold plunge. And then that's it. Like, that's it. I just need to be shocked out of my mental spiral. So a partner, it's like a puzzle piece, it's like you need to find that perfect fit for your personality.